In this video, I'm going to be comparing the damage of both newly buffed Green Phoenix and the newly added Dark Phoenix. And I'm going to be showing these champions versus 3 different kinds of health pools. First being the Labyrinth of Legends Winter Soldier, which is about a 550,000 health pool. And then we're going to go fight Labyrinth of Legends Star-Lord, which is 3.3 million plus class advantage. So it goes out to be a little bit less than 3.3 million if you add up class advantage and stuff. And then we're going to finalize it with Necropolis Odin. And we're just going to see the damage of these two champs compared to each other, and then see the strengths and weaknesses of these two. And it's really interesting because, I mean, they basically released in the same month because the buff and the new champ came out the same month. And they both have, they're basically both based off the same character, right? And they both have very interesting playstyles. And some are similar and some are different. So, with regular Phoenix, basically we want to drop some special 1s, and then we're going to go for a special 2 and trigger this giant flame aura. That's going to be our damage source. And then for Dark Phoenix, we're going to be dropping special 1s and then a special 2 as well to trigger something, but this is going to be for Nova Flames instead. And we're going to be placing Nova Flames a lot, but we really want to be placing them after we drop the SP2, which is going to give us our big Fury. So, yeah, it's very interesting. The comparison of how their playstyles work. It is very important to note that Phoenix was designed to be a attacker and Dark Phoenix was designed to be a defender with some decent attack qualities in between. So you're going to see that the damage in the short form is definitely going to be better for regular Phoenix. You're going to see Dark Phoenix is going to take a decent bit of time longer, not like a crazy big difference, but definitely longer in general than Green Phoenix for this Realm of Legends Winter Soldier. However, it's not like either one of them were bad, and Phoenix was actually quite good, the Green Phoenix version. So from here, we're going to move on to fight Labyrinth of Legends. And yeah, I think in like every fight from here on out, their damage is like really, really good, both of these champs. Phoenix and Dark Phoenix are going to be showing some pretty crazy damage in these fights, but what's going to be interesting is how they compare to each other. So the rotation for Green Phoenix for these longer fights is we are going to do 2 SP1s and then drop a special 2. We're going to get 6 Furies from that, and then we're going to get 3 Flame Auras from that. And we want to do that as a setup, and then we're going to get our big damage coming later. After those auras expire, we're going to go for a special 1 that's going to give us like 3 or 4 power gains, and then do double SP2, which is just going to give us an even crazier amount of flame auras, which should amount to 9 of them if we did it right. So anyway, we are trying to parry his special attacks because that's going to help us get more Phoenix Force charges, which is going to increase the number of incinerates we place during the Flame Aura duration, which is our main source of damage, obviously, so we do want to be holding on to that if we can help it. And then here, I'm going to trigger 1 more Aura, and then we're going to go for an SP1 with 3 Special Echo, and then watch this, Special 2, and then second Special 2, and we have 9 Flame Aura, which is pretty wild. So I'm going to be doing my best to be parrying the special attacks at the start of these Flame Auras, try to get that cap to 30 as fast as I can, because that's more damage. Here, Star-Lord drops a special 2, I parry the last hit, and we're at 30 Flame Aura. So now we're just doing an insurmountable amount of damage in red from these instant incinerates, and Star-Lord is just melting here. So yeah, both Phoenix and Dark Phoenix have a ramp up. They are different in the fact that especially Phoenix is better for the shorter fights than compared to Dark Phoenix, but they do have different ramp ups for short and long form. Ways you can skip the process of going like all out. Like with regular Phoenix, you're going to be doing like 2 SP1s or 3 SP1s into an SP2, and that's just all you need to do. And then Dark Phoenix is basically the same. It's just her floor is a bit lower than regular Phoenix. So anyway, I did mess up the tail end a little bit where we didn't have enough power gain to get to 2 SP2s, but it's not going to matter because Starload's going to die before these Flame Auras expire anyway. I needed to drop my next SP1 with a little bit more of my own power. So anyway, now we're going to be taking this fight with Dark Phoenix, of course. And we're going to do the rotation for Dark Phoenix for long fights, where we're going to be using SP3s, actually. You don't want to be using SP3s with regular Phoenix, because that's going to consume all of your buffs. And you're going to get a nice regen out of it, of course, but it's basically meant to be like a burnout kind of thing. Due to the chaotic nature of the Phoenix Force, it's pretty thematic. So, at the start of this Starlord fight, I'm going to drop a special 1, give me a little bit of Ember when I go for my SP3, and then the SP3 is going to give me a very large power gain, and then the power gain is going to help me get to a special 2 faster. So once we get to the SP2 after all that, then we're going to have the Big Fury. And yeah, that's a lot of special attacks, right? And that's a lot of special attacks for Green Phoenix too when we're doing her long fight rotation. Because these champs do both excel in long fights, and again, Phoenix does very well in short fights still. So we're going to go for the SP2 finally here, get the Big Fury, and now we're going to go for a special 3, and then place a permanent Nova Flame with the Big Fury, which is definitely really important because the Fury only increases the attack of the Nova Flames when you place them, and it's not going to increase the attack of the Nova Flame that was active on our first SP3 because the Fury wasn't around then. So anyway, we're going to go for these 2 SP3s, and then we're going to go for another SP2 to refresh that Fury. So luckily we do have enough time to get to another special 3 before the Fury expires, and that's something that is very important to note about the difference between Dark Phoenix and Green Phoenix. I do find that Green Phoenix often doesn't have to worry about tight windows when it comes to her ramp up, and sometimes Dark Phoenix does have to deal with those tight windows because there are some tight windows when it comes to getting your SP3s. Ideally 2 of them at once with the Fury active. Now you don't have to go for 2 SP3s with the Fury active. You could just go SP2 SP3, SP2 SP3, and just repeat it like that. But if you have the ability to do 2 SP3s off of 1 Fury, it is going to increase the damage that you're doing in that period of time by much more, because you're not rushing to replace another special attack that's not going to place the permanent Nova Flame, right? So at this point, the fight is almost over. We have the Big Fury, we're spamming SP1s, and every time we're doing that, we're going to place the Nova Flame, and then Starlord just melts at that point. And you're going to see this was a little bit longer than Green Phoenix, but really not by that much. So it is pretty impressive how comparable they are to each other in that sense. They were very close in fight duration when it comes to the damage. So I've just found that very interesting. Now last up, we are going to compare the damage of them versus Necropolis Odin as basically like the biggest health pool that we can possibly do. There are some fights in Necropolis that are a little bit larger for them to take, but if I was trying to find one just early on in the quest, Odin's usually the one I go to. And I did Dark Phoenix versus Red Goblin, but because Red Goblin's Incinerate immune, we don't want to use Phoenix there. So, anyway, that is another interesting thing to note as well about a difference between Phoenix and Dark Phoenix, is that while Dark Phoenix is often limited a little bit by tight windows, which can be dependent on AI, Phoenix is limited a little bit when it comes to immunity nodes. Like, if the opponent's Incinerate immune, she's really bad. If the opponent is Stun immune, she actually still can do a pretty decent job against Stun immunes, but it's a little bit less ideal, as you can, I'm sure, imagine why. Because you do want to place those initial 12 Incinerates when you can. But you always have the SP2 for your Flame Aura as well, so it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's totally doable. So, I did speed up the process of these fights because I've uploaded them directly before, but I am going to show the final 25% of Odin's health pool, so you can just see the red numbers absolutely fly past everything. So here I'm gonna go for my special 1. Another thing that's really worth mentioning in this fight is just how sustainable Phoenix's regen is here. Like, we're going to finish this fight with almost full health, and we did take hits in this fight. I believe when it's over, you're going to see I took 9 hits, and we're going to finish at almost full health. And Dark Phoenix's regen is really good too. It's just different. And Dark Phoenix's regen triggers when she would die, and Phoenix's regen triggers when her ramp expires. So very different. I find that while Dark Phoenix's regen is bigger, Phoenix's regen is more practical. So that's an interesting comparison there. And also in Necropolis, you can't utilize Dark Phoenix's regen because it's tied to her immortality. And in Necropolis, immortality, the duration of that and indestructible is reduced by 100%. So there's no way you can actually show off her regen from the immortality in Necropolis. But in other forms of content, it's extremely strong. Like, it's a really potent regen, and it's going to be super useful for maybe Eternity Pain type health pools and stuff like that. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to put this stuff at 300 speed. I don't think I ever showed Dark Phoenix versus Necropolis Odin, but I did show her against Necropolis Red Goblin, so I'm not going to let this fight play out super slow. Just because I don't want to talk over her long fight rotation again, you know. But you're going to see the ending of the fight again, just like you did with Green Phoenix, and see how their damages look. So, anyway, we're going to go for one more special 3 in this fight, just to replace the original Nova Flame that didn't get the Fury increase. So now all 3 of my permanent Nova Flames have the Fury increase, which is super, super good. So special 2 drops there, and then I have the big Fury, and now we're just doing the special 1s and replacing the Fury when necessary, and just placing those very large damaging Nova Flames on special 1s and special 2s. Generally, once you're fully ramped with the Nova Flame, the permanent Nova Flames, you're going to do SP2, SP1, SP1, and then SP2, SP1, SP1, and just repeat that cycle. And yeah, that's just what's worked out the best for me, I think. So we drop the special 2 there, get the big Fury again, and Odin's at 25%, so I'm going to slow the fight down. I don't believe I'm able to kill him before another SP2, but we're going to be able to see in a moment. So here, yeah, we're at half health, and again, we're not going to be able to regen any of that back because of how Necropolis works, but that's okay. And I'm going to need another Fury in just a second. So I'm going to get that Fury, and we are just burning him to death. Like, he's just taking so much damage from these Nova Flames, and there's nothing you can do about it, because no one in Necropolis is immune to Nova Flame. In fact, the only 2 Nova Flame immunes in the entire game are actually Iceman and Dark Phoenix herself. So anyway, Odin goes down, and you're going to see this fight was extremely fast, but Green Phoenix was slightly faster by about 30 seconds. So it's genuinely crazy how comparable they are when it comes to damage. They have different playstyles, different strengths, different weaknesses, but general speed is very, very similar. And so if you want to rank a champ for strictly attack, I would probably say Green Phoenix more, because she is the better champ for shorter fights. But Dark Phoenix is also incredibly good for BG's defense, which is also a short fight content. So, in summary, rank both. They're both great champions. They both have very different uses and very good uses, respectively. And I love both the champs. I thought this damage comparison was able to show off a really cool thing between the 2 of them when it comes to how their damage functions and how their speeds work. But at the end of the day, they're both really good. So if you have the ability to rank both, and you have Dark Phoenix, and you probably should have Green Phoenix, rank them, because they're awesome champs. So, hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.